The blockchain is the technology that Bitcoin uses, that cryptocurrency uses, to exchange information. So the easiest definition of what Bitcoin is, specifically, is think of it like a huge spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet. And in every row of the spreadsheet, there's a few titles. From, to, the amount, a hash, they call it a hash, and a pre-hash. And these are just IDs, basically. Like they're unique identifiers for that particular transaction. Does that make sense? This can get complicated, I know. So at every line, there's a wallet. One, we'll call wallet one, like Charlie's wallet, goes to Bob's wallet. And the amount I'm transferring is 0.2 Bitcoin. And there's an ID created, and then there's a pre-hash, which is the previous transaction's ID. And what it does is it stacks that transaction, adds a new row to the spreadsheet every time a transaction happens. That spreadsheet is available worldwide and you can view it. Think of it as a giant ledger that's available and you can search through it worldwide. Unlike with banks, each bank has their own, and there's a batch system that sort of coordinates and aligns the transactions. I know this gets complicated fast, but the idea is very simple. Bitcoin is based on a globally transparent spreadsheet. Bitcoin has a cap to the amount of coins that are available. So it solves for a lot of the issues that we talk about here, especially the red one, scarcity. It also solves, some people have asked, is Bitcoin as trading in cryptocurrency like more corruption? And what they're finding is it's actually less corruptible because there isn't the physical aspect to the cash, where a lot of the corruption happens in the current dollar system. Total side note for you, a lot of people running money, like drug money and so on, they'll go to casinos and they'll put them in the machines and just hit the cash out button to sort of get rid of the dirty money, which is tracked through serial numbers and so on, and get fresh money. Does that make sense? There isn't any way to do that with digital currency. Now, here's where the anonymity kicks in, because you're probably freaking out. Wait, somebody can see my transactions and see what I buy? The wallet itself has a unique ID. But unless they know that you're the owner of the wallet, they would never be able to tell that you're the one transferring money here, there, and everywhere. Does that make sense? So when you set up your wallet, you'll get an ID, and it's a long set of numbers and digits and stuff like that. And that's uniquely yours. Nobody else has that ID. And that's your little identifier to go out and transact with others. Now they make it easy, so you don't have to type that in. They actually have a QR code if you're familiar with those. You can copy and paste it. But you have to assure that your wallet ID is copied exactly the way it is. Because if there's one digit off and you're sending or receiving currency and you send the wrong wallet ID to somebody, it goes off into a never, never land. Just like if you're sending somebody a bank account and a routing number, if you're familiar with transferring money at all in the current financial system, if you send the wrong bank account, the right routing number, and that bank account legitimately has a account holder for it, that money goes in the wrong account. Very similar. Does that make sense? So the three things that I really want you to be very cognizant of is this. One, a wallet is where you store your money in real life. A digital wallet is where you store your currency in the cryptocurrency world. The way that you get into cryptocurrency at a baseline level, there's a lot more complication to this, but I'm making it simple for you, is you can fire up an app like Voyager. And that's the one I've used that's been the easiest to use and the most compatible, and it's worked the best. And I have a link for that below. You can use an app like Voyager to move money from your bank account, a debit card, a credit card, into your digital cryptocurrency wallet. And then from there, you can buy mainstream coins. I think they have like 60 of them. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, all these different coins. So you may be asking at this point, Char, okay, I get it. You have an app, the Voyager app, that's kind of like your bank account app, and you put money into it. And then in that app, I can swipe and say, buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, buy $20 of Bitcoin, buy $20 of Ethereum. And then it takes it out of the US currency part. You'll see it right on the app. And it says, boom, you now own, however much Bitcoin that is. And again, that's not a full Bitcoin, because a full single Bitcoin right now is like $59,000. Kind of wish I got into it in more depth in 2014 when it was like $200. Yeah. But Bitcoin, because of its scarcity and the adoption rate and the law of economics, is set to go much bigger than that over the next 3 to 5 years. Of course, we're going to see dips, very volatile. So it's just part of that whole, the whole sort of scene there. But to get it simplified for you, here's what I really want you to pay attention to. Much like a bank app, you move money into a wallet. You move money into your account. In the Voyager app, and I'll show you, actually in the replay, I'll put pictures of this happening, and we'll also be demonstrating this later today as well. But you have the capacity, once the money's in there, to go through and swipe left and say, I want to buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, buy some of this. Whatever coins that provider has, and Voyager has over 60 of them, boom, you get that. The cool part, and I talked about this earlier, is that you can go through in those apps, the Voyager app, and you can see they have a reward system for certain coins. Like if you put a certain amount of Voyager coin, or token as they call it, if you buy a certain amount of it, 500 Voyager tokens, they will reward you 7% APY, and then they give you reward bonuses as you're buying other things, and they give you referral reward bonuses too. And they pay those out throughout the month. The 15th and the last day of the month is usually how that works. Now keep in mind, Bitcoin and other currencies outside of the US dollar or the typical dollar, or whatever the mechanism of money is that you use, depending on what country you're in, is shielded, Bitcoin specifically, is shielded from inflation. So 7% on Bitcoin is non-inflationary percentage. Does that make sense? I know this can get complicated. So just keep that in mind. If it doesn't make sense for you right now, the links down below will help. We'll be talking this through. I'll try to answer your questions from that perspective. But I really wanted you to understand, like, what is Bitcoin and how it's sort of kept track of, and why it's transparent, and why it lives into these 5 properties of money, and it's purely digital, and there isn't any way to corrupt it. Like if you tried to inject a line item here where you were like, I have 50 Bitcoin and I'm going to exchange those. The way that the distributed network that keeps track of all these things around the world, there's computers that keep track of this spreadsheet all around the world, would be like, whoa, back up a minute. We're not showing that transaction on any of the other ones. Let's validate it through its hash and pre-hash codes. The next thing you know, it's like, nope, that transaction is invalid. It kicks it out. So a distributed network is the sort of answer to a single central network, which is basically what central banks are. And Robert Breedlove talks a lot about central banks and how the moment we got to central banks is the moment we kind of gave the people running the central banks a little too much power. Because they can go through, we're only relying on their word and their guarantee, if you will, that they're only printing a certain amount of money, they're only making a certain amount of money available, and those kinds of things. Is that helpful? So hopefully you're seeing that this system is fully transparent, open to the world. You literally can go through and search people's or wallet IDs. If you know the person, you can search their wallet ID and see all the transactions, where they exchange how much. You can't see what they bought necessarily, unless you know the other person's wallet ID. If the wallet ID is a company, then you'd be able to like connect that. But it's incredibly anonymous and very transparent. And it's, to come back to the philosophy of what we're talking about today, it's the next evolution for fairness in the world. And I'm not just saying that, it's like backed by what we know of the history of money. Does that make sense?